So, hello, fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728. And do people put freedom of speech above everything else? Even freedom? It really seems like that sometimes. Anyway, I'm Earthling, yada yada yada. And I'm currently growing out every part of my body that can grow hair. Pandemic length, as in I haven't cut it since I think March maybe. Anyway, I'm an ex-army reservist. I lost a bunch of weight. I travel around different places, and here I am on YouTube. So that's me. So I've come to expect, not that I'm necessarily or had been necessarily against the whole idea that, who is going to determine what people can say. And, I know that we need certain things in place, but who's the person who's going to set the law and da-da-da-da-da. That's what you come to expect anytime there's any sort of crackdown, like people complain about cancel culture, people complain about, whether or not Nazis can say what they want to say, or racist people, other racist people can say what they want to say. They just complain about it. You shouldn't get fired. People shouldn't do this to you because of that, and da-da-da-da. And I understand it. I get it. I never had a strong dog in the fight, per se, because, like most other people, this stuff doesn't really bother me too much. Thankfully, I'm not anywhere near to racist or particularly militant people, anything like that. But after this whole thing with Mr. Trump at the Capitol, all the people who stormed the Capitol building and whatever else, I still hear people talking about yada, 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 but like if it goes with Trump, then where is it going to stop? And, all right, one of the first thoughts that comes to my head is that there are actual limits to free speech. The Supreme Court, and with respect to the U.S., and a friend of mine was like, why do we keep talking about the U.S. all the time? Well, because they have the third largest population in the world, and it's the richest country in the world, with aircraft carriers in every one of the seas and oceans in the world. So yeah, it's kind of like, why do we keep talking about Bill Gates? We could talk about the 101st richest person in the world, but we talk about Bill Gates. Anyway, so there are limits with respect to the US on free speech. You can't yell fire or something in a crowded theater, because that will cause people to end up hurting each other. They might riot and trample each other. See, you can't do that. I hope people understand that. There's a limit. There's not wide open plains of say exactly whatever you want. You also cannot incite people to commit immediate acts of violence, like, hey, let's go and kill that person. You can't say that. So there are already limits to freedom of speech, and who is going to be the arbiter of the limits? The Supreme Court. The Supreme Court in the US said it. So if you had a question, those are the questions and the answers. When it comes to the government can't limit free speech. It can under those stipulations. Local government, whoever. Now, the argument in this case tends to go to, it's these public companies that are doing these things now. They're the ones that are controlling what we say and what we do and da-da-da. And I'm kind of like, yeah, that's what you accepted when you signed up for this public company. You can do that. There are lots of places that you can go. You can make, if you want, you can have an email list. You can have your own mailing list, and you can get email addresses from everybody that wants to you want to contact, who wants you to contact them. You can do that. You can pay for that. Nobody's stopping you. The whole idea that you have a right to be on Facebook, when all of these people are like, get off of Facebook, Facebook's this, Facebook's that. Which way is it? The whole idea that you have a right to be on Twitter with their infrastructure and their everything. It's just like, you don't. Whoever you are, that is not your right to be able to access the infrastructure of a private company. And, I'm sorry that people feel that because they have become so comfortable using these things, that on the flip side they complain about. Many other people complain about it and say, get off of Facebook, and that's why I'm not on Facebook. And that's okay, great. So you're not on it. And there's other people who we have seen what happens to people like Alex Jones and Milo, whatever his name was, from Breitbart. You've seen what can happen. You can get knocked off of these platforms. So if you want, you just tell everybody who wants to communicate with you, here's an email address. You can broadcast whatever it is that you want to broadcast, and set up your own thing. The technology is out there. The next thing, though, is that I don't understand why it is that after such a shocking thing had happened, all right, it's just for the people who don't only get all the information from Fox News. If you get all the information from Fox News, I get it. You believe anything that Fox News says. There was Antifa there. There were no Trump supporters, in spite of the fact that Trump told people to go there, and in spite of the fact that the people who have been arrested have been pro-Trump people, and they have found nobody from Antifa. They have no evidence of anybody from Antifa being at that thing or doing anything to get them arrested. So, okay, there's no evidence, and you believe it even though there's no evidence just because somebody said so. Great. But people who get their information from other sources, let's say a Joe Rogan, how far and how badly do things have to get before you say, hey, yeah, it's a good thing that they knocked Trump off of that platform? How far does it have to get? To me, it seems that when things that have never happened before start happening, then you probably should remedy it by doing things that you've never done before. That seems to me to make sense, especially when it's bad things. If it's great things that are happening that have never happened before, all full speed ahead. But when it's bad things, don't you want to try to undo some of those things by taking back the permission to be on these platforms that you did not build? I'm not 100% getting this. If I'm to understand it, a lot of people, for example, like Joe Rogan, will say that the gay couple who went and asked those people to make a cake that they did not want to make, why didn't they just go somewhere else? That's the argument that they'll make. Well, good. You want to say things that people don't want you to use them as a conduit to say. So just go somewhere else. To me, it is mind-boggling that it's easy to understand when it comes to the cake that the gay people wanted the cake maker to make, or when it comes to the clerk who refused to marry, or was it register the gay couple. That's a government official. She did not want to marry them or whatever it was. And people are like, okay, yeah. Or the 17-year-old who was illegally carrying a weapon that he bought with stimulus money to go and ultimately kill 2 people. People are like, yeah, it was not his right to carry. He was illegally carrying that weapon, as far as I understand. Now, I completely understand when people use mental gymnastics to arrive at the conclusion that they want. I know that they're doing it from a position of emotions, and they're not using their head to get at their destination. I get it. But I don't know. It seems like if you're not using your senses to... Not following reality works as long as somebody is maybe following reality. If you're blindly following a particular person, if that person is really, really good at what they're doing, maybe it will work out, But if everybody is just using their emotions to come up with stuff, and nobody is really paying attention to the road and driving the car, where are you guys going to end up? And in the instant where you put the ability and the freedom of somebody or people to say whatever it is that they want, what happens when that results in you losing your freedom? The very thing that you treasure, this freedom of speech, you want to retain it for somebody who's saying things that might lead to a coup in the United States of America, that might take away your freedom, not only of speech, but of movement, of anything. I mean, I understand that people are driven by emotion, but even emotion, can't you see that if you completely ride a freedom all the way past its logical end, you're going to end up regretting it? I mean, like, people are free to eat. If you eat too much, you're probably going to gain a lot of weight and all the problems associated with that. People can drink lots of water. You're free to drink that. And if you keep drinking lots of water, you can actually die from drinking too much water. It can screw up the electrolytes in your body. And there was a lady who drank a lot of water, and somebody phoned in because they had a radio program where they were challenging people to drink water, and the woman ultimately died. And that's water. And that's food. And that's, there are certain things that people can say freely that everybody will feel justified in completely and utterly ostracizing them for. If somebody wanted to talk about incest and how much they enjoy it and they think that it's a good thing, or pedophilia, how much they enjoy it and how much they think it is a good thing, there is no amount of freedom of speech that people believe in that they're going to be okay with that. There are certain topics about which people, even if they might silently agree with you, are just going to drop you like a hot potato. So I don't really think that it's anything to do with freedom of speech per se. I think it's freedom of the guys I like to say what they want. Because anybody who, a professor, even with tenure, with whatever, comes out and starts talking about boy-man love or anything like that, about the vacation that they had in the Philippines where, they engaged in sex tourism or something with minors, they are done. They are done, and nobody will be in their corner. So I don't think that people really, really care as much as they say they do about free speech. They just really care about the topic that they want to push, that is quote unquote acceptable in their circles. Or even not even acceptable, I don't know. But anyway, that's it for me. And feel free to like, dislike, challenge, comment, subscribe, look at more videos, not look at any more videos, anything like that. Just in the same vein as you would want people to do if it was you. Have a good one. Peace.